Something about today already happened. Not literally, but that flicker you might have felt, that half second of, wait, haven't I already lived this exact moment, isn't random, and it isn't nothing. It's a signal. And once you see what's actually stacking underneath it, the strangeness stops feeling like a glitch in your head and starts feeling like the most honest read you've gotten in months. Maybe it showed up as a strangest sentence that landed too precisely. Maybe it was a memory surfacing uninvited in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, or a decision you thought was settled quietly reopening itself without asking permission. None of that is a coincidence stacking on top of another coincidence. It's closer to several separate instruments in an orchestra hitting the same note at once, by chance, on the same night, and you happen to be standing close enough to hear it clearly. Here's what's really going on. Your perception isn't a random noise generator that occasionally misfires. Think of it more like a building, one with load-bearing walls, some old, some new, most of them ignored, until something leans on them at a different angle than usual. Today, several of those walls are being leaned on at once. That's not malfunction. That's structural feedback. It's worth actually listening to instead of shaking it off as just a weird day and scrolling past it. Start with the obvious one. The sun is sitting deep in the middle of Leo right now, which means the spotlight of the entire year is angled almost directly at whatever you've quietly been building your identity around lately. The project, the role, the version of yourself you've been auditioning in public without fully admitting it. That part isn't new. Leo season does this every single year. But it's the beam everything else gets layered onto tonight, so it matters that you notice it first before the rest. Here's the part that actually explains why today feels different from every other Leo season you've lived through. Jupiter is standing on this exact ground for the first time in over a decade. The last time the planet of expansion occupied Leo, an entire chapter of your life was still being written in a completely different shape than it is now. You weren't the same person making these decisions. Your circumstances didn't look anything like this. So when Jupiter leans its full weight onto Leo's floor again, the creak you're hearing isn't your imagination. It's a beam that hasn't been tested at this angle in more than 10 years, being tested again, with an entirely different structure now standing on top of it. No wonder it feels unfamiliar. It genuinely is. Then there's a piece almost nobody explains properly. A light that vanished for weeks just came back into view. Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, spends part of every summer swallowed by the sun's glare, completely invisible from Earth. Then, for a handful of mornings before dawn, it quietly reappears low on the eastern horizon. That exact reappearance is what ancient Egypt built its entire calendar around, thousands of years before anyone attached the word portal to it. They weren't being poetic about it. They were tracking something that reliably vanished and reliably returned, and they used that return to mark the start of a new cycle. So if some part of you has been sensing that something you assumed was gone is quietly circling back into range, you're not manufacturing that feeling out of nowhere. You're noticing a pattern people have been tracking for thousands of years. Underneath all of that, something even quieter is shifting. The lunar nodes, the 2 points that mark the axis your growth keeps orbiting around year after year, are in the final stretch of moving on to new ground, an alignment that only comes around roughly once every 19 years. You will not feel the wiring itself change. Nobody ever does. It happens too slowly and too far beneath the surface. But you will feel what it does to the rooms downstream. Old goals that suddenly feel slightly beside the point. new directions that keep tugging at your attention for no obvious reason you can name yet. That tug isn't indecision, and it isn't you being flaky. It's early architecture, showing up before the blueprint is finished. The kind of shift you'll only be able to name clearly in hindsight, months from now, once the new rooms are actually built and standing. And 4 days from tonight, there's a door standing wide open down the same hallway, a total solar eclipse landing in this exact sign, still gathering its full weight before it arrives. Doors like that don't slam open with zero warning. Usually you feel the pressure shift in the hallway long before you ever reach the handle. If today has felt like pressure without an obvious cause attached to it, that is very possibly what you're already standing inside of. Here's the detail most people miss completely though, and it might be the actual reason tonight reads as strange instead of just busy. The smallest room in this whole structure has gone almost silent. The moon is thin right now, a quiet waning crescent tucked into a sign that usually never stops talking. That silence changes everything about how the rest of this lands. Normally, the moon is the loudest, most reactive part of your emotional weather, drowning out subtler signals underneath its own noise. Tonight, it's barely speaking above a whisper, which means Jupiter's unfamiliar creak, Sirius quietly reappearing, the nodes shifting underfoot, the eclipse gathering 4 days out. All of it is coming through with almost none of the usual static in the way. That combination is genuinely rare, and it doesn't happen on command. You're not receiving more input than usual tonight. You're receiving the same amount of input with the noise turned all the way down, so for once you're actually hearing it clearly. Play that out in ordinary terms for a second. Maybe it's a work conversation where you suddenly say the honest version of something instead of the polite version without planning to. Maybe it's noticing you've outgrown a routine you've been defending out of habit rather than actual attachment. Maybe it's simply that a person, a place, or an old ambition crosses your mind twice in one day after months of silence, and you can't explain why, except that it feels timed. None of these need to be dramatic to count. The point was never the size of the moment. It's that you're catching it at all clearly, instead of it sliding past you the way it usually would on a louder night. So what do you actually do with all of that? Nothing dramatic, and definitely nothing you've never done before, just because a video told you tonight carries weight. What you need is simpler than that, and honestly a little harder. Stop dismissing the flicker. The next time something tonight feels oddly familiar, oddly loud, or oddly clear, resist the automatic urge to wave it off as just tired or just an off day. Ask what it's actually pointing toward instead. 9 times out of 10, the answer isn't brand new information arriving from nowhere. It's something you already half know, finally arriving without the usual interference drowning it out. This is also exactly why chasing a big dramatic gesture tonight tends to miss the point entirely. The instinct might be to force a decision, send the message, quit the thing, announce the plan, treat tonight like a deadline. But a night built for clarity isn't the same as a night built for action. Clarity asks you to slow down long enough to actually register what you're noticing. Action can come tomorrow, next week, whenever you've actually thought it through, instead of reacting to how unusually loud the signal felt. Confusing the two is how a genuinely useful window gets wasted on a decision made too fast to trust. That's the real shift available to you tonight. Not a prediction about something that's about to happen to you. An unusually clear window to notice what's already quietly true, because for once, almost nothing else is talking over it. You get to decide what you do with that clarity, tonight, tomorrow, or whenever you actually sit still long enough to use it properly. Nobody is handing you an answer here. You're simply being handed a rare, quiet enough room to finally hear the one you already have, without three other things shouting over it the way they usually do. If any part of this describes something you've been sensing without quite putting a name to it yet, stay close tonight. Not because something urgent expires at midnight, but because the version of you paying attention right now, in this exact moment, is exactly who this unusually quiet window was built for. Come back and tell me what surfaced.